Good morning. Morning. What came forward here was an impulse, I guess you might say, a movement, responsive immediacy to meet that inquiry that somebody brought forward about the unworthiness at the core of the ego structure. With what we were working with, Sharon was beautifully offering and inviting us into yesterday. It seemed like this might want to be in that with us. So I'm going to do a few readings. Very helpful for me. This is a very popular, well-known piece of writing from a woman named Mary Oliver, who just passed away in the last couple of years from the States. She's touched so many people with her natural goodness, and she lived a torturous childhood, and I mean torturous, and found her solace and relief in the beauty that she found everywhere, including here. It's called Wild Geese. In the Northern Hemisphere, the geese kind of naturally know when it's time to leave, to go south in the fall, and that's what she's referring to. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about your despair, yours, and I will tell you about mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to you, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. You know, we have such a idea deep down that we have to repent across that desert. Somehow we got to make up for something that isn't quite right. And then I got to wondering, what have I said? I went to something called the Heart of Being on the website, and that was offered in 2017, and found this. The individual and the collective are fundamentally the same. The collective is made up of individuals, and they are not separate, the one and the many. What is in one is in the all. What the ego considers to be mine or theirs is never anything but ours. The question of worth, unlovableness, is the core of the separate me, that there are parts of us so sinful, so deplorable, so horrific, so unacceptable that we must hide these parts, divide them off, deny their existence. And this leaves us feeling weak, divided, exhausted, ashamed. All of the parts of our being that we deny and resist are treasure. They lead the way to greater and greater acceptance and compassion, as they are one by one seen and felt directly in presence, which is love, and freely experienced without narrative. They give way to the lightness of being that is beyond personal identification. The ego will hear this as I have to do everything. I have to clean up my life and the world and all the problems and the suffering, and it will become immediately exhausted, weak, and disempowered. Understandably so. With self-realization, one lives, for the most part, in the moment, and the moment becomes the most interesting thing to the attention. It becomes very hard to move the attention away from what is immediately presenting. So one isn't necessarily very preoccupied with how to serve, how to be good, how to repent, because it's obvious to the moment at hand. In this moment, what needs loved? How may I love in this moment? So we can take on the ego structure. Do we see where it comes from? It isn't like, you know how they used to talk about the ego as kind of being the big bad evil, and you had to get rid of it and all of that stuff. At the core of it is all of that mistakenness and historical subconscious programming that when we try to face all of that from the ego itself, from the false sense of me, we try to eliminate the false sense of me with the false sense of me, with the false sense of me. That's, it's understandable. Doesn't work. Does not work. This is why it's so key to remember. And it doesn't have to be some big flashy experience that we compare to somebody else's flashy experience of awakening. There's every single one of us in this moment, right now, right here, can sense the presence, the aliveness, the here-ness of now. It's undeniable, and we can go there anytime. And then that becomes the ground from which the false sense, all the stuff, all the unlovability, the unworthiness, the division, dissolves. And it's very mysterious. It's mysterious. It's not directed, controlled, managed, as Sharon was saying, by the conceptual mind. It's not understood by the conceptual mind. It's not navigated by the conceptual mind. One has to be as what one is, fundamentally, and love alone is. it looks like there's a lot of other stuff. And the mind goes, well then, what about that war and that atrocity and da 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 da, and makes up all kinds of explanations for that. In the world of cause and effect, in that, like the dream world at night has its laws and principles, the dream world of the false sense of me has its laws and principles as well. They're not the same laws and principles as grace, as unconditional love, as uncaused love. Maybe this is boring, but my excuse is I've seen Aja do it. Isn't that funny? Gotta have an excuse. There is no isolated thing that is alive. There is only life itself. Realizing potential from, through, and as the dark mystery. I forgot what you were calling it, but the generative cauldron. The womb of creation. The ground of being. Original love itself is at the heart of being. It's at the heart of frequency, at the heart of vibration, at the heart of light, at the heart of presence, at the heart of all expression. Jennifer doesn't exist as something that is alive. Nothing exists as something. Rather, as love, life is. It's that simple. All apparent things in perception are the wholeness of uncaused love unfolding from, through, and as the mysterious potential that is. But the way we see this is totally dependent on the level of consciousness that love is shining through. The movie on the projector, the light is infinite and shining. As Sharon was saying, never not. But what is the film that's running on the blank canvas of the mind? The blank canvas is beginner's mind, but the levels of consciousness that are lit by the infinite love that is, play out. Yeah, innocently. We don't have to repent on our knees through the desert. We just have to wake up. Original love doesn't make any difference or benefit anybody unless it's conscious. It isn't love itself that redeems the world. It is the consciousness of the presence of God love that redeems and benefits. Love simply illuminates, like water makes things wet. Love illuminates consciousness, providing an avenue for creative potential to be delivered into form. God so loves the world. The great dark mystery so loves the world that it gives forth indiscriminately. There's no God that hands out reward or punishment. There's no reason for suffering other than a belief in separateness. You know, the Aramaic word that has been translated as condemnation. You know this word, condemnation, like punishment. The Aramaic word translates to English as division, a sense of division. The hell realm is nothing but a sense of division. It's not a condom, it's not a place of punishment, reward, this, that, the other thing. It's a belief. The film on the projector in front of the light as love pours forth, delivers every holy instant, now, 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 now. Certainly there is light as the sun is shining, but it is more or less known, seen, and lived in accordance with how drawn are the shades, what the subconscious programming is. That's why so beautiful. Yesterday was so beautiful. Sitting in the darkness of conditioning does not mean that the sun is not shining, but who will be the one to see the sun, be the sun, live as the sun, demonstrate the shining? No one. No one will demonstrate it. Emptiness will naturally become as love is. We can continue to remember. Here it was there was such a hard-headedness, such an arrogance of belief in I was doing my life not very well. But actually I was a pretty good manager through all kinds of total bullshit. From the outside, it probably didn't look too bad, but there was all kinds of crazy insanity. I had something going for me that I got from my father, who some of you have met. He's a kind of a Zen cowboy, and he doesn't think very much, and neither do I. Just kind of naturally, I don't have the thing that mires down so many people. Somehow or another, that's the one ace they gave me. I didn't have to think about it too much. But there was a stubborn intellectualness, like we talked about before, that temptation of, an educated cynicism, an intellectual overlay. And so my guess is that's, that was met with a complete okay, we're just going to erase that board. Just erase it. An inability to actually intellectualize came on suddenly and directly in the middle of a class that I was taking with my sister, who is a disciple and teacher in the Bonnie Bainbridge lineage. And we were going back to embryonic patterns and bringing them into the current moment through our bodies. And I went into Warrior One, and Amazing Grace, the prodigal daughter just came home. This sense of division, the sense of separateness, the sense of, I got to keep all that way down here because it's really bad. Deep down, I'm really bad. So I'm going to really look really good on the surface, I'm going to manage all this stuff, and all that was eliminated. And that liberation where, the one with the flute on the ox, I am part of this. I am a gift and precious, sacred expression of the divine giver. really is so liberating, and it paves the way for a continued unfolding that becomes, love alone is. But it starts as, I am that. I am this preciousness, like Mary Oliver was saying. I am this precious, sacred. I don't know if any of you have had the experience of totality with this included, but there's an absolute understanding that if even one hair was removed from the entire existence, the whole thing would evaporate. It wouldn't exist. Like every single piece is divine. We really convince ourselves of something else. We're not doing it well enough. There's woulda, shoulda, coulda. And the power inherent to an apparently individual expression, completely, totally present in the now as its essential self, is unstoppable. It's the power that births the world. It's the salvation of the world. It's the I can of the universe coming into being. I encourage to find it in the body because we're walking around as a body mind. And one of the portals that has a lot of accessibility is the heart. And I could be totally off base, but it doesn't look like any kind of coincidence that it's like lots and lots and lots of heart irregularities to do with the heart, especially with people on the path. It's the evolution of the physical heart expressing in the image of the boundless heart. Expressing in the image of the boundless heart. Because when one takes the image of one's divinity, what one's place in the family of things, as Mary Oliver said, as when one takes their seat as that, it's the glory of God. It's the glory of humanity. It's the divine human being. When we take the image from the false self, well, we get war, peace, good, bad, sin, goodness, the whole gamut of all of that, and it feels confusing and hellish because it has no basis in the divine sacred reality. It only exists as a dream in the false self. It's a house of cards. It feels terrible. And it's always got to compensate, because it's not consciously receiving, although you can't stop, you can't not be that which animates you. But we're not consciously aware of it or receiving it. And so it's just like the cross to bear. Life is the cross to bear. The neuroses are the cross to bear. The suffering is the cross to bear. And we think, oh, that's the earth. How many more lifetimes do I have to go? You know, this is, I can't express the gratitude for those that have gone before and written it down and talked about it in ways that, I mean, they don't have to say a thing. You know, Eckhart Tolle just wanted to live in Bonnie Greenwell's basement for the rest of his life, you know, and never say anything. But he did. But they all say it's like a dream in the night. It's just like waking up in the morning and you go, wow, wasn't I just at the pizza parlor having pizza with so-and-so and it was real weird? And, you know, I mean, but that dream, where is that? Nowhere. All of the fuss is just like that. And meanwhile, as Mary is showing us, meanwhile, I mean, the chorus, Kathleen knows what I'm talking about. The chorus of the glory. Maybe that's an old-fashioned word, but what else can I say? And there, with these subconscious divisions and sense of I'm actually something, we can miss it. We can miss it, and whatever's occurring in the moment can be suffered rather than loved. It's all treasure. It's all treasure. It's all treasure. It's all the infinite, beyond being, non-being, existence, non-existence, born, unborn, death, old age, sickness, beyond, 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 the infinite. So loves the world. You know, do we really think that it would be like, I'm getting a little preachy, but whatever. Do we really think that there would be something in the source of existence itself that would be like, you're doing a really bad job, bam, you're out of existence, you know, or like this punishing? It would just be as it is. Goodness, love. It wouldn't be, what would, it couldn't be what it, you know, it would be like water sitting there going, oh, I really want to be wetness, but I'll be dry in this case because they don't deserve it. It's just, it's so ridiculous what we've come up with. Me included, this included. So to, what does it take? Let me think, let me just listen for a minute. It's an abandonment of conditioned beliefs. It's an abandonment, a willingness to abandon what one thinks about oneself and others. If you can't abandon it, and I get that, I fully understand that, There were so many, oh my God. The tapes of it'll break your heart, which is good. Good news. Good news. But it'll break your heart what you've been saying to yourself all your life or saying about other people. Woo! That will break your heart. And it will all come forward. I mean, here, the image that was held in time and space about this, heartbreaking. The whole like you're never good enough or look right at, or doing the right thing or saying the right thing if you're a female, you know? And the day that you realize, wow, that's actually just all in here, is a sit down day. It's you know, I've used this before. I don't know if it works. You know, there's like the liberation desk, you know, it's kind of like, you know, the passport office where you go to get your visa, but it's the liberation people, right? And they're, you know, the ego is sitting there at the desk. Something comes up like, you're just fat and ugly, la 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 la, you know, whatever. And it's like the ego goes, nope, I still need that one. Get back in line. And it goes back to the end of an infinite line of like, I'm bad, I'm bad, I'm bad, right? And the next one comes up, well, okay, I've done some self-help and some good work with my psychologist. Yeah, I can let that one go. Stamp. And the ego, it gets to go. You know, it gets to leave. Pretty soon things start getting kind of like the ego starts getting pretty enlightened. Like Abya always says, a healthy ego is a real joy. So it's like, I don't know, a good, you know, 15,000 of you can just go today. Bam, 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 all right. You know, you start feeling lighter and lighter and lighter. Pretty soon, you know, there's just days the ego doesn't show up and a whole bunch of them get past the desk. Like, I'm out, you know, because there's nothing there keeping it. I need that. That's me. Pretty soon, very, 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 very rare that the liberation police, the ego, shows up. But just like Papa G said, vigilance is to the end because there are some deep roots, baby. Aja said there were a lot of Velcro thoughts. Byron Katie, somebody asked her, what do you do on your free time? She's like, worksheets. I'm doing the work. Like, what do you think I'm doing? You know, I mean, she was mystified by it. So, you know, the Office of Liberation still exists. Nobody's there most of the time. And it just is kind of a free-falling immediacy. A free-falling immediacy where love does as love does. Love is as love is. Very, 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 very little suffering. I mean, I was never a big sufferer because I just don't think enough, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying it's good or bad. But you know, I'm going to backtrack. It's so funny. Our friend Alex and I were having a conversation. He was asking me some stuff. I'm a little bit like a big sister to him, like Sharon's a big sister to me in this teaching lineage, and he was kind of asking me some stuff about it. And when I first started teaching, I definitely felt most comfortable just kind of sticking with the absolute. You know, love alone is. And you know, people who have sat with me for getting close to 15 years would be like, can we have a little more? I'd just be like, love is alone, or. Kept it pretty impersonal. And then the last few years, just like most people, because there's so much dissolution going on in the collective, there was just like this hurricane, tsunami of like birth family stuff, and my mom passed away, and inheritances, and sisters and brothers divorcing and estranged, and all this stuff. And I just thought, sincerity. So the last few years have been, I just let it rip, as far as like, this is what's happening, this is it looks like a shit show, but it's like Teflon, which was very uncomfortable at first. Teflon is not comfortable for the ego. Teflon is not comfortable, where every single thing that's happening to you, even the death of your mother, which was felt deeply, and I mean, my mommy, but kind of slides right off. It's not a popular thing to say. And it doesn't mean what the ego thinks it means, as far as like, transcendence or aloofness or bypassing. It has a very different quality that's very difficult to language. Amidst and amongst is as close as I can come. And even that becomes pretty empty. But what I'm saying is the precious expression, the precious body of life, the precious body of existence. You hate to even say the word Christian anymore, but the true people who are open to the Aramaic teachings of Yeshua call it the body of Christ. Can't even extract an atom, or it's just all too precious, it's all too divine. This other stuff is not the infinite divinity behaving punishingly or badly. It's the condemnation, the division, the belief, the identification as separateness, as taking oneself out, like the second chapter of Genesis. Self-consciousness came into existence. And they started thinking, maybe I'm bad, because I seem to be separate. I seem to be something. It's very innocent. It's totally innocent. This is key to understand how innocent it is. Not start putting our labels of something gone wrong and all of that. Every misunderstanding is a treasure, because once it comes into awareness, well, that's the liberation at the heart of being. Nobody's left out. Nobody's left out. Nothing is left out. Everything comes back to the banquet, the home ground. It feels like home. You can't believe you convinced yourself you weren't home. There's a sense of absolute disbelief. How did that happen? And You know, when I've told this story, I'm going to go with Sharon's. Like my stories. Thank you, Sharon. When our daughter was 3, like so many kids, you know, she just came in with the innocent and total understanding of her innate goodness. It was not covered with arrogance in any way. She was only 3. But she would draw these pictures and she'd say, she loved to kind of hold court. I think she, when we went to Thailand, there were monks like bowing to her in the street. I think she had been kind of like some sort of bigwig teacher or something. She doesn't want anything to do with that this lifetime. Nothing. But she would kind of hold court. Mother, may I grace you with my presence? Yes, you may, Adriana. And she would draw these pictures of the light streaming into the top of the head of a human being and then out the heart space. And I would say, what is it, Adri? And she would be like, Mom, God comes in and gives us our brilliancies, and then we live our brilliancies through our heart. I'm like, okay, I'm going to work on that. But, it's true. It's true. And then we want to compare ourselves to our neighbor's awakening, or compare our preferences to somebody else's preferences and deem one good and one bad, or decide that because, I don't know, did something out of irritability or this, that, or the other thing, that all of a sudden, I'm part of the unlovable crowd, and in the meantime, we can just think whatever we want, man. We can color it with however we want to color it. We can color it however we want to color it. It's unconditional. It is what it is, regardless of what we put on top of it. I'm just going to read this as a closing. I can find it. Too bad with the shaking today. A dear friend of ours, during one of Sharon's retreat, asked me to, she was getting ready to go through a really, really deep transition in her life, like one that involved like divorce and child custody and houses and money and like stuff that matters when you're a mom. That stuff matters. To listen when I was at retreat, and if anything came through that, I don't know, I'm not saying it was for her, but that, would be maybe relevant, to please pass it on. It's a really cool request, actually, because what came through was very helpful here, as it always is going to be. When the inquiries and the questions pop up, the first thing that happens here is like, oh, okay, here we go. It doesn't feel like it feels like a responsive immediacy that's for everyone. Y'all feel that way for each other? Yeah, beautiful. This is along the lines of that comparative narrative and unworthy, not good enough narrative. A few years ago, I planted columbine in the rose garden. Columbine is for those of you who don't know, it's kind of a desert plant. It's a wildflower. I thought it would be pretty to see the airy columbine amongst the rose bushes. Roses need loamy, rich soil and about an inch of water every week. Those conditions for roses bring lots of blooms and strong plants that are more resistant to bugs and disease. Each year, the columbine migrate a bit further out of the rose bed, creeping towards the rocks around the bed where they naturally grow better. They have more blooms and less rot in their roots in dry, hot, less fertile ground. Beyond reason and self-consciousness, individuation occurs very naturally. Roses, columbines, in their natural environment. The columbine don't appear to be saying no to the roses or yes to the rocks. They just find their way unknowingly, moved by something greater than reason and concept, without opposition or conceptual position. We don't see caterpillars pacing the parking lot when it's time to enter the dark transmutation. The heart of the heart of matter, doesn't know anything about opening and closing, connection and disconnection. It doesn't know anything about that. It is responsive immediacy, a divine expression that is informed by, through, and as the majesty and glory of its root origin in creation. A rose is a rose is a rose. A columbine is a columbine is a columbine. You are what you are what you are. The expression grows best with the conditions that God set forth for blooming, and the heart knows what it knows beyond reason. So it's a listening to that knowing. It's never been disconnected or connected. It simply is as the boundless expression of heaven and earth. Listening, listening, moving as that, from that. Takes a little bit for the mind to get on board, for sure. It's very disorienting. It was super disorienting for an intellectual person like me when judgment and yes and no and da-da-da, me and them and all that fell out, because how the hell are you going to make a decision if you don't have your justifications and positions? But the heart of being, it's gotcha.